Welcome to Mission Driven Founders, where passion meets purpose. If you're dreaming of starting your own business, whether it's in beauty, wellness, or beyond, you're in the right place. We are going behind the scenes with inspiring entrepreneurs who are not just building brands, but driving real change. Hit subscribe, tap the bell for updates, and stick around. This conversation could be the spark that ignites your journey. Today, we're so excited to introduce Susie. She's a bat rehabilitator, a volunteer at animal shelters and zoos. You will learn all about her today, so stay tuned to learn more about the beautiful work that she does. Now, let's dive into Susie's inspiring journey and see how she's contributing to our movement and making a difference in the world. Thank you, Susie, for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. I really am.
Your mission is truly inspiring. Can you take us back to the moment it all began? Everyone is really curious about your work with the bats. So what sparked the idea for your business, for what you do today? And how did you turn that into a reality, all this inspiration into reality?
I went to a lecture at the LA Zoo many years ago, and the woman who spoke was truly a bat expert. And it just lit this fire underneath me. And when I lived in Northern California, I worked with a rehabilitator. I was already vaccinated for rabies. So when we got a bat in, I got to rehab it. I just fell in love. When I moved to Tennessee, we were not allowed to rehab bats up until last year. Last year, I was allowed to work with another rehabber. She had the permit. I did not. I worked with her. And after a couple of months, she told me, apply for your own permit. So I did. And the rest is history. I've got, I think it's 12 bats in care right now. 2 are education animals. So I take them out into the community for people to see, which I can take one out here in a minute. But bats are more important to us than we realize. For example, there's a recent study that came out that shows a correlation between infant death and bat death. And people look at me like, what? Here's the thing. We used to have a lot more bats than we have now. We've lost bats due to habitat loss, windmills. White nose syndrome is wiping out bats. That's another whole topic, white nose syndrome. Anyways, with not having as many bats, when the farmers grow crops in the fields, they rely on bats to eat the pests, but there's not enough bats. So what do they use? Pesticides. And if you happen to be pregnant or nursing, think about this. I don't care how much you wash something. If they've sprayed with pesticides, I don't care how much you wash it. It doesn't take much, gets in your body and it goes to your baby, whether it's through the fetus or it's a fetus or through your milk. And besides that, bats eat a lot of mosquitoes. And what do mosquitoes give us? All sorts of viruses, including West Nile. And summer 23, they sprayed in West Knoxville for West Nile. That's spraying pesticides over your house, over your yard, over your dog. If we don't do something, the last study I'll talk about briefly, in 15 years, it is predicted we could lose 53% of our bat species. That means half of our species could be gone. We have 16 species in the state of Tennessee. That means we could have 8. Give or take. I mean, it depends on which species go away, but it's not good. It is just not good. It's going to be our demise. We need to do something quick. If I had a Jenga game, I would bring my Jenga game out and I'd start pulling pieces away, which is what we're doing with the ecosystem. And when you take enough pieces out, what happens? It topples. That's where we're going. So
that's terrible. That is terrible. And people sometimes are afraid of bats, but do they really need to be afraid of bats? I mean, look how much they do for our ecosystem.
Show you. Hold on just a second. Where are you, Barry?
I love this. I love the work that Susie is doing with the bats. Can you imagine having 12 bats in your own home, rehabilitating, taking care of them, and then letting them go. Oh my goodness. Oh,
That's Barry. He is an eastern small-footed bat. He's definitely probably the smallest we have in the state, that of the species we have in the state. He does have a wing problem, which is why he came to me. And I do take him out for short programs. And I mention that I will do a program for anybody at any time. They just have to let me know. I am so committed to educating the public on the importance of these animals.
he is so cute. We can't see his wings.
He's got him tucked in, and one wing is bad.
Mm.
But you know what I could do? I could possibly take out another bat and show you a wing.
Oh my goodness, Susie. What?
He's also half
Oh,
asleep.
he is so cute.
Let me put it back. Let me see if I can get another volunteer here. Who do I have? What is your name again? Oh yeah, Bugs. Bugs.
What's your name again? So all the bats have a name? All 12 of them?
It's easier for me to have a name on them than a number, just because I know who I'm talking about. Come on, buddy. Come
That's
on.
so cute.
He does have a partial wing amputation. I know, sweetie. I know. I'm trying to. This is the wing she still has. No, where you going? Can you see her okay?
Yes. Oh, she is so cute. How do you know if it's a girl or a boy?
They're anatomically just like us. They're on her back, which is why she's called a silver haired. This is her wing. It is tucked in right now, but she's going to be pissed if I try to grab that wing, so I'm not going to do that. These are babies. They are full grown adults.
Oh, they're all adults.
They're all adults. Baby season starts about June 1. Very, very busy in June because people find babies everywhere. And that means feeding every 4 to 6 hours.
Wow. The bats that you have in your rehabilitation, the 12 bats, is there a risk that they will have babies?
They're all vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So Bat World vaccinates. So I am vaccinating as well. And I have, I think 5 or 6 that are going to be going. I have a flight tent in the other room. It's a 10 by 10 fully enclosed tent, but it's just got screen material so I could see inside. They're all going to be going in there to prepare to be released. Much as I love these animals, they don't make good pets.
No.
These 2 education animals I have because I've learned if you see a picture of an elephant, you go, oh, that's cool. But when you're standing in front of an elephant, it makes the impression. Having these bats and being able to take them into the community so people can see they're not a little devil and they're not a little Dracula and they're not trying to eat me, that they're really okay. You know, women used to have hairdos that were up high, and they would think that the bats wanted to nest in their hair. First of all, bats don't nest. That would be a bird. And if they're following a bug that's flying into the hair, where's the bat going to go? Into the hair. I could be outside and a bat comes by me over here. It's because they're following something they're trying to eat. You talk to people who have had bats around their house, they have no mosquitoes. None. I mean, really, no mosquitoes.
So bats, I mean, they're intelligent, right? They're very intelligent creatures. So you rescue them, you bring them in, and then you have the 2 that you use as education.
Right.
Examples for the others.
Right. But everybody else is basically here for rehabilitation and to be released.
Okay. So then the babies come in. But my question before was, when is it possible that these bats that are in your rehabilitation, is it possible that they also make babies between them?
If I have a male and female and they actually mate in the fall. And what happens is the mamas, because they're going into hibernation or torpor, the fetus doesn't start developing until about now, I think, is when it starts. I could be wrong on that, but now is when the fetuses start developing. And I think it's a 60-day gestation. So that would make sense. April 1 to June 1. June 1 is when they start having babies.
So did you ever have bats in your rehabilitation having babies? You have.
I've
Wow.
had twins. I've had
Twins.
twins a couple times. Big brown
Oh,
bats having twins.
oh my goodness, Susie, what an experience.
It's pretty funny because the babies are like that big, smaller than Barry.
Wow. So how do people know to bring bats to you?
If anybody finds a bat on the ground, in the house, you could go to the TWRA, Tennessee Wildlife Resources, TWRA. I'm listed there as a bat rehabber in the Knoxville area. There's only 3 rehabbers in the state for bats, one in Chattanooga, one in Nashville, and me here. They call me, and ideally they need to bring the bat to me, and I tell them how to put the bat in a box, and never use bare hands. Oh, I took my glove off because it was dirty, but basically these are the nitrile gloves, but anybody who is not vaccinated, and when I'm dealing with a new bat, I wear a leather glove, but nobody should ever use a bare hand with a bat, ever, ever, ever.
Because they
And
will bite.
if you think about it, we're a lot bigger than they are. And if you're scared and somebody's got you and you want to get away, you're going to do whatever it takes. They bite out of fear, just like a snake. They bite out of fear. Snakes can't eat us. That's why venomous snakes have venom, is to kill their prey, because they only eat dead food. We're too big for them to eat. So they're not trying to eat us. They're just scared. So keep in mind that the animal is scared. Getting it into a box with an old t-shirt or some kind of fleece. And if you can get I don't have one of my shallow dishes here of water, just like a bottle cap, put that in the box. You've got to have air holes, but don't let the air holes be too big because they can crawl out of small places.
Oh.
And then you seal the box with tape and get it to me. And if somebody can't get it to me, I have some people that can go out and pick them up. But generally, if I was going out picking up all the bats, I'd never be home to feed. So
That's incredible. I
and
have
I
never seen anyone rescue bats I mean, this is incredible. And this is in your house. Granted, you live on a farm, right?
it's in a building on the property.
But I mean,
but it's home.
still,
It's home.
it's
It's home.
home.
It
Oh,
is home.
goodness.
And also, I have a Facebook page. It's Bat Education and Rehabilitation of Granger County, which is where I live. So people can find me that way as well. Or we can give out my number if you want. It's
Yes,
out there.
please do. Please do.
It's
Give your number.
661-803-1526.
So if anybody finds a bat in this area, Tennessee, like Knoxville,
Call me and I will help them.
are there any other animals that you rescue, or you're specialized in bats?
I'm specialized in bats, but I do have a dog that I found a couple weeks ago that he's at a dog run outside. So, I mean, I have a heart for all beings, especially ones that can't help themselves. This dog that I found, it's a long story, but this poor thing, I mean, so we're just keeping him until we can find him the right home. The 2 dogs that I do have were found rescued dogs by my son. So, but I mean, in the past, I've actually last year, I got a call about some woodpeckers. I went out, happened to be in the area, so I was able to pick them up, and I got them some food, and then I drove them to the bird rehabber in Chattanooga.
Wow. So where did all this love for animals and this inspiration come from? Is it from childhood? Is this something you developed as an adult?
My aunt says that my mother should have let me have a dog when I wanted a dog. I was allowed to have nothing. We had goldfish. We had a parakeet for a year. And then when we moved from Chicago to California, we had to leave the bird behind. So I've always been an animal person. It just, got a little crazy because once I got out on my own, I could do what I wanted.
I love that. And is your husband on board?
Yeah.
Yes, he
He
loves animals.
mumbles and grumbles and he's not always happy, but it's a passion. And it's not just a passion for the animals, but it's now a passion to educate everybody on these animals' importance. We really are in trouble. And the other thing is that we're really in trouble about is honeybees. I mean, it could affect our food production if something isn't done. And people need to understand that. I mean, food doesn't just grow on, well, some food grows on trees like apples and pears, maybe, but things have to be pollinated. And that's what bees do. And if there's no bees to pollinate, we're not going to have any food.
Exactly. And I love that bats are so important for our agriculture, for regenerative farming, for, avoiding pesticides, because we don't need pesticides if we keep our bats alive, if we protect them. Are there people that actually hunt bats? Do they kill bats? Or why are they getting extinct? Like you're saying that we're losing bats. Is it because of the ecosystem? How is it the pollution? Is it hunting? What is the reason?
So with white nose syndrome, which basically is passed from bat to bat when they're in caves or in old mines, when they're hibernating or in torpor, it's very easily transmitted from one to the other, and it will kill a bat if they're disturbed while they're hibernating. What it does is the fat stores that they have in their bodies when they go into their hibernation gets eaten away by the fungus. The fungus, it has to be fed.
Mhm.
And so it could be the dead of winter. The bat is really hungry because all of his fat stores are gone. They go out to hunt. Are there any bugs out there flying around for them to eat? Not in 30-degree weather. And it basically kills the bat. So white nose is a major reason that we're losing bats. But for people that like to go into caves, they put on whatever equipment they use, and maybe they don't even put equipment on at all. But if you go into this cave and there's white nose in that cave, and then you go to this cave that didn't have white nose, but it's all over you, you've just now infected that other cave. So cavers need to disinfect their clothing when they come out of a cave, get all that stuff off, put it in a bag, take it home, disinfect it before you go in another cave. So you're not transmitting white nose from cave to cave. But people will find bats and just they'll leave them. They won't do anything because
Oh, they're afraid of the bat.
but that's why that's part of the reason for me to do the educational programs and bring a bat with me so people can see it's not a vicious, horrible animal, and they're not that big, and they're not Dracula. And people worry about vampire bats. Vampire bats are not here. We do not have vampire bats here. And vampire bats, when they eat blood, they only drink a teaspoon. I mean, that much. And they go after livestock. They don't go after people.
Do you go to schools to educate about the bats? That would be such a great thing for schools.
I'm trying to get into Knox County schools. I spoke with somebody yesterday who is going to pass my card to two different principals in two different schools in the Bearden area. So keep your fingers crossed that maybe they'll call me. But like I said, I will do a program for anybody. I don't charge. Donations are greatly appreciated because that helps to buy mealworms and medications and caging and other things that I need to help keep them alive. I mean, really, I'm spending my money and have been spending my money for just about a year in keeping these animals alive.
So, do you get any support from the government or from other organizations, or do you really have to fund everything yourself?
I have my own 501c3. There is a fundraiser going for me right now. I only need 75 more dollars, and I'm going to get a free incubator, which I need for baby season. And that's through Baby Worm. I think it's babyworm.org. And I think all you have to do is look up my name. And there's a picture of me feeding bugs, as a matter of fact. And I'm $75 away from earning the incubator. I do have my own nonprofit. Um, I've had some donations come in, but I mean, I just did my taxes and I spent $1,000 on mealworms last year.
So we really need to support your beautiful work. And if everyone who is watching this, please support this amazing work with the bats. Please. This is beautiful, and one person cannot do it alone. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just the hard work, it's also the money that she needs to keep this going.
Money helps. It just takes a little bit of pressure off for me as far as the money, but I do it because I love them and I believe in what I'm doing. This is just in the last few months, all this research that I've learned about, I am more passionate than ever.
I love the work, Susie. And thank you so much for sharing your story and for the invaluable work you do to support the animals, the people, and the planet. Because what you do with the bats supports the entire ecosystem, right? It's not just the animals, it's not just the environment and the farms, but it's also us, the people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And anybody has any questions, they want to call and ask me a question, call and ask me a question. I don't have any problem in answering questions for anybody because it's all about education.
I love that. At Crunchy Mama Box, our CMB certification is all about education as well, because education is empowering. It's what makes us really understand the cause and the effect and why we're doing what we're doing, why we're feeling how we're feeling, right? And makes us make informed choices about our health, about the planet, about society. So it's so important. And thank you so much to everyone watching. Remember that every choice we make can shape the future. So let's choose wisely, live intentionally, and support those who are making a difference, like our friend Susie. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and let's keep building a brighter future together.